Thursday, June 6th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by my co-host, StatPat, Stateless Patriot. What's going on, man?
Not much. I figured I'd do the same as you. Check in on the game.
What's the latest? I'm not even watching anymore, actually, because I just saw it was up. They were up by 20 at the end of the third period.
Yeah, they're still up by 20. It's 96-75 Boston right now. So,
Oh, nice.
bit of a blowout. I mean, that was kind of to be expected, right?
Yeah, that was pretty much what people expected. If the Mavericks were going to get one of these games from the Celtics, one of these first two games in Boston, it was going to be the second one.
Yeah.
It was always kind of going to be the second one.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's cool. Lot of interesting news going on. It is the 80th anniversary of
D-Day.
D-Day.
That's right.
So maybe I should acknowledge my grandfather who was there and did about 15, 20 runs driving one of those landing craft.
Really?
From the big boats, from the destroyers and the battleships. I don't know where he was getting his people from. They had these special boats that carried a ton of, soldiers and stuff.
Coming from Britain?
Yeah, and they faked out the Germans with Patton.
That's right.
If you read up on your history, because the Germans were scared to death of Patton, so they put Patton in this other place to distract the Germans, and they even used fake blown up balloons that were painted green to make them look like tanks.
That's right.
So that was the biggest head fake in modern warfare, and it worked beautifully.
For real, if I remember correctly, the Germans were anticipating a full-on assault on the North Beach or something like that, and then
I believe that's right.
And then what happened was the Allies went further south and came to the West Beach and invaded there. If I remember correctly, it's been a minute. I need to brush up on it.
I think that's right. They thought they were going to land in an area that was east of where they ended up landing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They thought the Germans thought that they were going to cross the channel earlier.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They went further down towards the Atlantic, and then they crossed over towards Normandy.
Yeah.
But the beaches were not all equal. So Omaha was the worst one. That's the one that you saw in Saving Private Ryan.
That's right.
But there were other beaches that, the Australians and the U.S. got really kind of unlucky with the beach that we got, because we got the thickest one. But I think the Australians and some other soldiers just walked right onto the beach.
Yeah.
And there was nothing there.
Right.
And then they had the paratroopers, of course. So it was a pretty big day in history.
Big time. The single biggest land invasion in the history of the world. It
was a pretty big one.
And I think they if I remember correctly as well, they had to postpone it a couple times due to, I guess, weather.
They wanted a cloud cover. They wanted a cloud cover in the morning, so that it would mess with their radar, and they wouldn't be able to use their telescopes or anything else to be able to see them.
That's right. Yeah. No, it's it's a very, very interesting subject. A lot of aspects to it. Very, very. I think it was one of the most necessary things when it comes to the most important wars in history and whatnot. It literally turned the tide of the war, and it was very, very crucial that the objectives were met by the Allies and push Nazi Germany back.
Yeah, if you want to pick a moment in the last 100 years that somewhat justifies the concept of American exceptionalism, look no further than D-Day.
Big time. Big time. Yeah. It's I mean, I sound like a friggin', boomer or something, but seriously, what happened to our country? What happened to this idea that it the fighting for the greater good. Like even if like at the time like not everybody was on the side of the Allies, like in America, in the West and whatnot. Like we even had like pro-Nazi rallies that actually happened in America at the time. But like not to mention as well, like FDR, easily like probably the greatest president that we ever had since like the founding of the country, or maybe since Lincoln.
Since
And
Lincoln, yeah.
yeah, and like it, his role was crucial because like if we had a president at the time who was a lot more sympathetic to the rise of fascism in the 30s and the 40s, I don't think history would have played out the way it did. I don't think it would have been
No.
like like because like FDR was the closest thing to a socialist leader that America had, like very very strong on labor and on taxing the wealthy, and like almost got through a second Bill of Rights, if I'm
Right.
not mistaken as well.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, no, FDR is arguably the first modern president in terms of understanding that the relationship between the government and the private sector needs to be managed and needs to be supported. And at certain points, things shouldn't be businesses. Utilities are a great
Right.
example.
exactly. Yeah,
Healthcare is the best example.
exactly.
But we don't live in a country that gives us healthcare. So we're dealing with a cultural assumption there as well as an economic
Yeah, and not to mention like
shortcoming.
since then, like it's just been whoops, it's just been like stripped away like piece by piece, like all um his domestic accomplishments, FDR, uh, policy wise, has just slowly degraded, like with the rise of Nixon and with the rise of Reagan. You know, LBJ did like his best to continue with like I believe he's the one that actually started Medicare, and of course got the Civil Rights Act passed and whatnot. But since then, it's just more watering down and watering down, and more tax cuts, more deregulation. It, it's like when Democrats get in power, they tend to they incorporate what's called, I guess, the ratchet effect. They keep things from turning more and more to the right, but with each Republican administration since LBJ, it's just shifted more and more to the right. Whereas the Democrats act as like a backstop to keep going from further right, and I don't exactly know how to like address that properly. Like how would we as a country do that? I mean, obviously you would elect like more progressive leaders, but like how long is that going to take? It's a really frustrating thing, especially when you look like the big picture, the scope of things. It's crazy because there are people alive today that were alive during the time of the Normandy invasion. You know, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I think it comes down to leadership.
Yeah.
The reason why government is the problem worked so well isn't just because going to the DMV is a pain in the ass and always will be,
Right.
even though that was a big part of it. But it's also that there was a lack of leaders following the Kennedy assassinations
Yeah.
that stepped up for the left. I mean, I guess the biggest name was Tip O'Neill, who kind of caved to Reagan quite a bit,
Yeah.
from Massachusetts originally.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like there was a million opportunities since 1980 to invest in the future, and we just got addicted to selfishness. We kind of, it's like a it's like an alcoholic, really. It's like an alcoholic. We're addicted to economic growth being driven by tax cuts,
Yeah.
which is just absolute, and defense contract spending. And what the hell are we doing? There's so much waste. There's so much waste in the military. People don't know this, but the military is extremely wasteful.
Yeah.
They have like ammunition, for example. At the end of the quarter or at the end of the year, whatever the budget cycle is, okay, if you haven't burned through all of your ammo for that cycle, then you're going to get less the next cycle. So what do they do
Yeah.
at the end of the month or the end of the cycle? Blitz through all the ammo and make sure that they get as much as they did last year.
Fire it all off. Ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean, that's just one example, and there's a million others.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have. I remember I was talking about that in a previous stream, and I actually have a clip in the works that where we actually address that. It's insane. You know, like it's crazy how they get away with it too, because it's like you're that. I mean, why not just sell that ammo? Like, why just? I mean, you're basically like wasting it. You know.
Well, so I was a management consultant back in my corporate days. Didn't last long. And I got to know the world of consulting, and there are specific firms that only do consulting work for the government. And they're not necessarily lobbying firms. They're like business consulting firms just for government entities.
Right.
Okay? So if a leader or if the head of the FBI, for example, needs to reduce his recruiting budget by 10% over the next 3 years, whatever, he can ring up and say, hey, I'm going to go spend $1 million on a consulting firm to make sure we do this as efficiently as possible because it's really important we get it right. And then if things go wrong, then the person who hired the consultant can say, hey, the consultant said do it this way. The world of consulting has thinned out since my day. Of course, my day was about 18 years ago. So that's all by way of saying a lot of corporate America, a lot of what you think is efficient about America, corporate America, the military, police, they are wasteful.
Yeah.
Everything's wasteful. I mean, I saw a statistic, something like half of food that gets produced and transported to marketplaces actually gets eaten. Something like that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Insane.
Is that right? Like, I haven't checked. It might even be less than half.
Yeah. Like, every time I go to, like, a market, honestly, like, a grocery store, I think to myself, is like, there's no way everything here is being consumed. It's like, it's insane to think about. Like, we literally, like, I think there's like an actual number for it. Like, we throw away millions of tons of food every year. Like sure, there are places that do donations or whatever, like from down to like bargain markets or to shelters or whatever. But that's a drop in the bucket compared to like how much is actually thrown away that doesn't get bought and used.
Right.
It's greatest economic system in the world.
So one of the things maybe a theme that we could touch on really quick, since it is game one of the NBA Finals, is lefties paying more attention to sports. Now, when it's a blowout like game one was tonight, I don't expect them to pay attention to those games, but I at least want them to know who's in the finals and who's favored to win it, what the original seedings were, and actually watch the late games 5 through 7, depending on how many of those we get.
Yeah.
Because I think basketball is a really amazing game to watch. There's a ton of scoring. I think there's more scoring in basketball than any other sport.
Right.
And there's all sorts of different tactics. It's about superstars. How well is LeBron going to play tonight? Who's going to shut down Kobe, going back to previous generations? And then there's epic rivalries like the one behind me.
Yeah.
So it's got a really rich history, and I'm doing an episode called 1979, the year that defined modern American sports, where I'm going to be talking about these two guys behind me
Mm-hmm.
and how when they played in the NCAA Finals basketball championship game in 1979, that was the beginning of the culture of sports as we know it today. And I'm not going to get into it any more than that, but stay tuned because it's going to be a very enlightening episode. And I think if people understood that history starting just in that year, because, you know, I think lefties maybe are kind of researchers, right? They're like explorer types of who we talked about.
Yeah,
And they think that they think maybe that they need to do like the homework on the game to appreciate it, or they just don't find, like, I get it with baseball, how like visually, like, that is just not appealing most of the time.
Sure.
Like, most of the time it's just two guys playing catch. And, you know, but then there's the postseason and it makes it all worth it, right? You know.
Yeah.
So there's hardcore baseball fans, which I totally respect. But sports like, I think the NFL, college football, college basketball tournament, and then the NBA playoffs, that's kind of required reading for the lefties, just at least to know what's going on. And then you've got things like the Euro Cup and the World Cup and the Olympics. Now, I know lefties have a lot of problems with the Olympics and probably the Cups as well. I do too, but they are still fantastic entertainment products.
Yeah.
And they do bring the world together.
Yeah.
Under false pretense for sure, but they do bring the world together.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I'm pretty much in complete agreement with all that. Like, and you like, generally you don't. Excuse me. You don't have to like understand like the sports. Like, you don't have to know the ins and outs of the history of it. You can just watch it casually. Like, I don't understand much about basketball at all, but I like watching it. You know. And that goes for all the other sports mentioned as well. And like the aspect of like the World Cup, you know, like soccer in general, like that is like it's literally the most popular sport in the world. It does bring people together, you know, like in like a country's team fighting another country, well, going against another country's team, like that. There is like there should be an appeal to that, you know. At least in my opinion, there's something to learn from that. Like, it is a sense of like community, even if it's like competition, you know.
Do you know why soccer is the most popular sport in the world? Think about it.
It's the oldest.
No. Think about it. Think, why is soccer the most played sport in the world?
I've actually never really thought about that.
Did you grow up playing sports?
Just football, honestly.
Okay.
And a little bit baseball.
So, remember how much equipment was required to play those two sports?
Mm-hmm.
How much equipment is required to play soccer?
Just
the ball.
Cleats in the ball, yeah.
Not even cleats.
No?
You don't even need cleats, man. There are kids playing on the beaches
right.
all the time.
Right, yeah. Like, I mean,
it's about resources.
Right. That makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. You know, you just need a big open field, like, and a ball, and that's really it. That's really all you need.
It's almost a physical application of Marshall McLuhan's "The Medium is the Message," which, in a nutshell, I don't know if he'd use these exact words, but I understand the medium as the message as, by continued engagement with a communication medium, you will ultimately see it as defined by its limitations. For example, 24-hour news, right? Our expectation was that it would educate the citizenry on a lot of different topics over the course of the day or the course of the week, whatever. It would be more oriented towards content as opposed to what it is, personality. Why?
Yeah.
Advertising revenue. The idea is not to bore the audience like C-SPAN would, or
yeah, right, yeah.
The idea is to keep them paying attention.
That's right.
Which means entertainment, which
Yeah.
means stimulation, which means freak shows like Janine Pereiro.
Oh,
And
God.
who are the other douchebags at Fox News? Kaylee McEnany, I think, was there. I
Yeah,
heard
Greg
her hosting
Gutfeld.
something. Greg Gutfeld is such a loser.
Yeah, Laura Ingram, Sean Hannity.
Laura Ingram is gross.
Insufferable.
Hannity gives the biggest softball interviews. He is captain softball over there. It's pretty funny to
Yeah.
watch.
For real though.
He tries to like spoon feed Trump what to say, and Trump's meanwhile, I mean, he has
Yeah.
no filter.
Every time. Yeah.
So we should talk about the race, and we'll talk specifically about the debate. I do have a viewer now. Please let us know what's going on, my man, or my woman, whoever's watching me. The debate, June 27th, I think it's going to be fantastic. I actually do think it's going to matter. I do.
Yeah.
I think something's going to happen, or something's not going to happen that we expect it to, because a lot can happen in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it will actually be something that leads to a lot of political conversations that continue into the 4th of July holidays.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think the Biden administration is hoping happens. We talked about it when it was released, that the June 27th scheduling for the debate is probably so that they can get in the zeitgeist and the news cycle for a good solid week, 10 days there, carrying over into the 4th and getting people talking about it.
Yeah.
So,
I would imagine.
and then you have the conventions 10 days after the 4th.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. I would imagine, like, they do have a game plan for that debate. Like they have like kind of a script. You know, like they're not they're not going to let this opportunity go to waste, because they're starting to see the writing on the wall. They're starting to see that, like, they're like just dragging in the polls. That there's very little momentum behind the Biden campaign right now. Meanwhile, like,
I don't know, fundraising wise, the Biden's actually doing pretty well.
yeah,
And I just saw an advertisement for Biden before the NBA Finals. So he's got some money to spend.
yeah,
He's not being shy about spending some cash.
yeah, and unfortunately, Trump does as well, because I think he's like, after the conviction.
I think they just
or whatever,
raised like $50 million or $15 million or something ridiculous following his guilty verdict.
I saw a figure that said 200 million, but that,
Come on.
Yeah, that might be wrong though. Like, I forget exact. I mean, it might have been, it might have actually been from Trump himself, because like I follow his fucking account on Instagram. So there's probably like no fucking truth to that at all, or maybe like he's just inflating it, or using like more than one set of numbers. Who fucking knows? But either way, the fact that like he's still receiving like any amount
Holy
of
shit.
money is,
I was right. It was $53 million for a series of connected accounts in the first 24 hours after the verdict,
man.
putting his total for May at $141 million.
Oh god.
I mean, it's going to be billions of dollars into this election.
Mhm.
It's so ridiculous how money in politics. Where could all that money go?
Right.
There's your proof that we need it. I mean, I think it starts there. We should talk about why this debate matters, or should matter, because it's the only time you actually get the candidates without their buffers.
Right.
Right? Whenever you see them in front of a microphone, they've been prepped, and they have to do it for very brief periods of time usually.
Yeah.
This way, you have to actually kind of exercise the intellect, so to speak. At least with the moderator. I think it's Kristen Welch. No, it's CNN, isn't it?
I think it's ABC, the first one.
Who is moderating?
Yeah, actually, I think I posted about it. I'm pretty sure ABC.
Jake Tapper.
Oh,
Wow.
So it is CBS.
And no, it's CNN. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash are going to be hosting it. That's pretty big deal for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good luck, guys. I hope you redeem yourselves for working for CNN, the OG, the network that I believe will someday rise from the ashes like a phoenix of
Yeah.
journalistic truth.
We'll see.
I don't know. I just have an affinity for, of all the media conglomerates, that's the one I have an affinity for.
Yeah, it's
the most.
they've been getting a little better in their coverage in recent months, maybe up to a year
Disney was
ago.
the smart one because they just stayed out of news. Disney was the smart media conglomerate that
Of
was just like,
course.
nah, we're just going to do sports and be the biggest sports brand in the history of sports.
Literally, yeah. Like they own ESPN now. Is like
No,
what?
they've
Like
owned ESPN for a long time. They built ESPN. Well,
oh,
I should
I.
say,
That's right. That's
yeah,
right. It's yeah. It's been a multiple.
they injected steroids into ESPN, and ESPN became a superhuman. That's what happened when Disney bought them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. They've been. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. No. They got it right. Like I wouldn't want like any of my money going to prop up like 24/7 news that focuses more on the attention span of their dim-witted like voter bases, and y- you know focusing more on ad revenue and keeping your attention on the screen and personality rather than actual policy. Yeah, that's like just thinking about it, like it is enough to drive me insane.
I just had a taste of corporate America relationship management, which I think is, I don't know if it's more or less delicate than media relationships, but it's probably pretty similar in that you're expected to be as professional as possible for as long as possible. It's not like TYT where you've got Anna Kasparian mouthing off like that. It's like, no, you're never going to get a job in network with
Right.
that mouth. But
Yeah.
with mainstream media personalities, I think there is a commitment to professionalism that means you're going to be avoiding conflict a lot
That's
when you're
it.
communicating about politics. I mean, politics is a touchy subject to begin with. You're going to get Cory Booker on there and talk to him about his pharmaceutical campaign contributions.
Of course not. No, like that's you're never going to hear that in mainstream corporate news like at all. Like that's it, zero conflict and neutrality bias. That's the name of the game. That's why you'll never have independent companies, no matter how big they get. They'll never run things. They'll never host a debate. They'll never actually be taken serious or be broadcasted or anything like that because they actually challenge power, and that's in multiple forms. Whether it be like asking actual tough questions, questioning the legitimacy of the media and the institution of the media, what the media covers or chooses to cover, what chooses not to cover, the way they play patty cakes with all sorts of politicians that take the exact same money that they probably do. It's like incestuous in a way, and like independent media is always going to remain that way, like independent, because they they see through it and they're not going to bullshit you.
Do you think someone could run for office and talk about nothing but campaign finance reform and still win?
If they make that like a centerpiece of their campaign and like actually have a lot of backing behind them, I mean, like because that's kind of like a
Like labor guy, right? Someone out of labor probably who's already got a platform and a network
yeah,
and
it's like
doesn't and just can call in favors instead of money.
well, asking whether they could be successful. I mean, it's kind of contradictory because like you could be all about like campaign finance reform, which is desperately needed in this country, but in order to actually like propel that message successfully,
You have to
you're going
make
to
you
need
have
a
to
lot of
raise
money
money.
behind it. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Small
Uh,
dollar donations.
yeah, I mean it's possible. I mean, one when I first saw a clip of Bernie Sanders, one of the first things that got my attention was him saying, like, it must have been one of the very first Democratic debates in 2015. And I can no longer find the clip, but I remember him specifically saying that we have a campaign finance system that is corrupt and broken, and that that's always stuck with me, and it's true. So like I mean, he ran a successful campaign. I mean, I mean, at least relatively, given someone of his politics, I guess you could say. Um, well, I mean, we'll have to see. I believe it. I mean, I don't think that should be like the only like cornerstone of your campaign, but like to make it a centerpiece, I'd be like fully in support, like 100%. Like it's like money in politics is one of the most like disgusting, toxic, corrupt aspects of the system that we have. Like we were just talking about the fact that hundreds of millions of dollars, billions even, are going into these campaigns for Biden and Trump.
And nothing is going to prevent that from changing because we're not talking about it. We've got other issues. We think we can get healthcare passed with the system the way it is.
Right.
That's what Obama, I think, was confronted by when he became president, was just the sheer amount of money that goes into Washington to make certain things priorities.
Yeah.
And that was probably pretty overwhelming for him. Because I don't think
I would think
he
so
had
as
been
well, yeah.
around much money in his life. He came from like, I know he went to a private school in Hawaii, but I don't think you would call his upbringing terribly privileged.
Right.
But, the point is that he was a nice guy. And I think the left needs to learn. And we kind of are learning that we need fewer nice guys and more winners.
Yes, exactly. I'm actually gonna send you a clip right now from this.
Okay.
This is like early Obama era, first term. Do you know who Dylan Radigan is?
Dylan Bradigan. No.
Dylan Radigan. He used to have
Keep talking.
he used to have a show on MSNBC. I think it was called Political Power, something like that. And he went on this amazing rant.
I remember. He's a finance guy.
Yeah.
This is the best rant of all time. Or like one, I'm not really saying
In
that,
my opinion, like I have this saved.
it's one of them.
because of just how incredible it is, and still how relevant it is to this day. Because this is from 2011. Dylan Radigan show Political Panic. Mm-hmm.
I understand that, but you
to
can't sit
walk
here
out
and
a
say,
$4 trillion solution,
okay.
which is a way for the Democrats to avoid dealing with this until 2017. I'm not here to talk about plans to deal with this till 2017. I'm saying we've got a real problem, and I'm tired of Republicans and Democrats who either want Republicans who want to burn the place to the ground, and Democrats, with all due respect, who want to offer a plan that gets it through their end of their second term of their presidency, and then screws me and my kids when it's over. And until we do that, we have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact. Tens of trillions of dollars are being extracted from the United States of America. Democrats aren't doing it. Republicans are not doing it. An entire integrated system, financial system, trading system, taxing system that was created by both parties over a period of 2 decades is at work on our entire country right now. And we're sitting here arguing about whether we should do the $4 trillion plan that kicks the can down the road for the president for 2017 or burn the place to the ground, both of which are reckless, irresponsible, and stupid. And the fact of the matter is, until we actually, and I'm sorry to lose my temper but I tell you what, I've been coming on TV for 3 years doing this. And the fact of the matter is that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking, it's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward, Susan, to deal with this.
But there's only one right
happened to
now.
him?
The leader of the free world, whether you like it or not, the president.
All right. So what happened to him?
Oh, like I'm sure he was canceled like not long after this rant. I know like the last time I saw him doing anything, I suppose. I mean, he's made appearances on Crystal Kyle and Friends. He's made appearances on Jimmy Dore. But other than that,
Wow.
in the last few years at least.
So he's only doing Indie Media now?
As far as I know, Yeah.
I would like him to go to the people of the United States of America and say, people of the United States of America, your Congress is bought. Your Congress is incapable of making legislation on health care, banking, trade, or taxes, because if they do it, they will lose their political funding and they won't do it. But I'm the president of the United States, and I won't have a country that is run by a bought Congress. So I'm not going to work with a bought Congress and try to be Mr. Big Guy. I'm working with the bought Congress. I'm going to abandon the bought Congress like Teddy Roosevelt did, and I'm going to go to the people of the United States and I'm going to say, you've got a bought Congress. And until we get rid of the bought Congress, which is Jimmy Williams' constant point, which is get the money out of politics, and until a president says that's the problem and says he's going to fix it, there is no policy that I can possibly see, no matter how brilliant your idea may be, or your idea, or my idea, or her idea, or your idea at home, is that idea will not happen as long as there's the capacity to basically fire a politician who disagrees with me by taking funding away from him. Is that a fair assessment?
Money in politics is the root of all political evil. It is corruption at its worst.
There we go, Jimmy.
And until we step up and kick that out of the park, it's going to be the same system.
And only the president could do that. We're going to
No. Congress has to do it too. The Congress has to do it too.
But I'll tell you what. How bad does it have to get? How much money has to be extracted? How many things have to be heard?
The brass tacks. Okay, physically, what do?
You go and give a speech
right now.
right now.
Right now.
You say.
And then what happens tomorrow?
Tomorrow, what happens is you begin the process of actually investing in solving the problem. So I come out and I say, how? I create an infrastructure bank with 2% blending immediately. There's that. Once I explain to people the problem, once I explain to you have cancer, once you understand how screwed up your trade, tax, and banking policies are, believe me, you will have no.
I use the cancer metaphor for climate change too. It's like if you went to the doctor and the doctor told you had cancer, what would you do? At worst, you'd go and get a second opinion. What would you do when that doctor told you had cancer? You'd probably accept that you had cancer, right? Mm-hmm. Well, imagine thousands and thousands and thousands of doctors all saying climate change is caused by man-made activity.
Yeah.
And
it's that simple. It really is. But, like...
You're just not asking the doctors, you're asking the propagandists.
Yeah.
No issue when I incorporate an infrastructure bank that I fund with repatriated offshore money that I bring in and then use to create 2% direct lending to every business in America, because when you realize that the banking system is fully corrupt and defrauding us, and I come out and say that, which is what I want my president to do, that at that exact moment I say, you know what, we got a screwed up situation here, people. You all know it, and now what? I'm going to admit it. And as a result, not only have I admitted it, but we're going to begin the process of solving it like grown-ups. They did it in World War II. They did it after the Civil War. They did it in Latin America with the Brady bonds. We are not seeing it happen now. The panel stays a little more emotional than I anticipated getting at work this afternoon, but what am I going to do?
Yeah,
What a trait.
I haven't
seen that in a while.
Me neither, and it still fires me up every time I go back to it. It's so spot on. He literally.
Plus, he knows the economics of it. He knows the economics behind what he's saying. He could actually go into detail about explaining all that stuff, and not many people can.
Yeah,
there's a lot of. I think what he finally is coming to there is the assumptions upon which capitalism is built, and I think a lot of this sociocultural, nonviolent revolution that you and I want to see is going to have to do with oh man, where was I? Remind me what I was saying.
God, the
I've lost all my viewers anyway, so it's no skin off my nose. Hopefully we don't lose any of yours.
Right.
The Dylan Radigan was killing it for a few minutes there, but then I lost them all. Plus, it's 11:15 on the East Coast. I know I got some East Coasters in my audience. But, I don't know. It's just the financing, campaign finance reform.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know what I was saying. So if this nonviolent sociocultural revolution that you and I want to see happen is going to happen, we're going to have to go right after some pretty big cultural assumptions. A friend of mine who started out left and is now right, but not in the right that you would think. He's a neocon, definitely not MAGA.
Right.
He was like, the left can do a lot better with fighting the culture war as opposed to just acting as if it's not taking place or acting like they're above it which they
Yeah.
often do.
Right.
And I have come to agree with them. And I think American exceptionalism is a huge theme for us. And I also think the economic assumptions that we're going after are also cultural assumptions. Reaganomics has become a cultural assumption of conservatism in America.
Right.
Oh, of course we should cut tax for the rich and corporations because that trickles down, provides jobs and profitability for everybody.
Still waiting for
Nope.
that. Yeah.
Now, if there's not regulation, and it doesn't really happen anyway because we've talked about it before, money doesn't get taxed if it doesn't move. So what do a lot of wealthy people do? They stick their money in real estate or the stock market or bonds or a million different other investment products out there. And then it doesn't move, so it never gets taxed. And it just grows and grows and grows. And that's the difference between income and wealth. I'm going to be talking that at some point. That's going to be a dichotomy. Have I done it already? No. So that'll be a future Dieter dichotomy, is the difference between income and wealth. If you have a high income, that's nice. But if you don't have wealth, then you're not getting ahead of it.
Yeah.
And in our generation, in your generation, anyone younger than me is really, I am seeing it now with friends of mine in tough spots. And, it's dark. There's also the issue of not just lower wages, but higher income. Higher expenses, cost of living.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, higher cost of living everywhere. Yeah. Where I live, rent is up like 35% in like the last 3 years or something since I lived here.
It's
insane. Ridiculous.
Yeah, no kidding. Like just a decade ago, I could have rented a place like this, the size of my current place, because I paid like $1,300 something for mine. Same size place like 10 years ago would have been $700 a month. It's beyond insane. Like it's absolutely crazy. I was renting a 5-bed. Splitting rent. A 5-bed, 3-bath, 2-story place back in 2020. Rent there was $2,250. That's good. Like for a place that size, like you'd be hard pressed to find something like that nowadays. Good neighborhood too, right next to a golf course. The same place goes for $3,000 a month. Now, insane. It's fucking insane. Touching on rent a bit. Actually, I actually found this story. You can probably find more about it. Like I think More Perfect Union has a website perhaps, but the FBI just raided landlord giant Cortland Management over algorithmic price fixing collusion.
Nice.
Apparently, Cortland is allegedly part of a bigger conspiracy coordinated by software firm RealPage to raise rents across the country through price fixing and.
Did you send that to me?
And keeping apartments empty. I could right now. Actually.
No, but did you send me something about RealPage? Because I just found out about it.
No, I didn't.
Okay, somebody sent it to me. Maybe it was okay. It doesn't matter.
I would assume it's about the exact the same thing, but because that just happened. Yeah, they are being used by Cortland Management to in a price fixing conspiracy, and Cortland Management just got raided by the FBI. Oh, here we go.
Now, a federal investigation is underway looking into an alleged scheme to hike up rent prices across the country. And this probe is now bringing federal investigators right here to Atlanta. 11 Alive's Joe Ripley has more on the court documents detailing how a particular software is now possibly causing rent prices to go up here.
The first day of the month,
I need my rent to get back like it was.
Always reminds Torrance Strong of the struggle.
I do Lyft, Instacart, DoorDash.
He does what he can to keep pace with his rising rent of $500 in less than 4 years.
We've been taking a kind of a toll on me.
And that's the case everywhere.
Like we usually when we first moved there, we used to do a lot of stuff, go out to eat, all that kind of stuff.
Federal investigators are
insane.
currently looking into an alleged price-fixing scheme to drive up rent. Court documents outline an alleged nationwide scheme that relies on a software algorithm to create, quote, a new frontier that poses an even greater anti-competitive threat.
Federal investigators probe brought them here to Atlanta, looking into one key company in particular.
11 Alive confirmed FBI Atlanta agents went to Cortland's Atlanta office last month conducting what they call court-authorized activities. Cortland owns more than 80,000 homes and apartments across the country. In a statement, the company confirmed the FBI executed a limited search warrant at its Atlanta office as part of an ongoing investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice into potential antitrust violations in the multifamily housing industry. Cortland said it was fully cooperating with the investigation, adding, quote, we understand that neither Cortland nor any of our employees were targets of that investigation. According to Realtor.com, Atlanta rent has seen one of the greatest drops in rent prices since last year, but Torn Strong has not felt that relief yet. He says he's still struggling to keep up.
So everybody want more, ridiculous more. Man, the cost of living in Atlanta is crazy, and I'm from here, man, for real.
In Atlanta, Joe Ripley, 11 Alive News.
Yeah,
Poor
no,
guy.
like for real, and like, and Corley even says in that statement they weren't exactly the targets, but it was like they just happened to fall within the investigation. Like it was just discovered that they that they were doing this, you know. So like, who knows how many other? I mean, because this investigation is probably ongoing. It probably just doesn't. It probably involves multiple other management companies and whatnot that own homes across the country. So I genuinely hope we discover more that are engaging in this behavior, because it really is this bad across the board. Like up $500 in 4 years sounds about right. Like everything, it's insane. It's beyond insane.
Yeah, it's been used in Canada as well. It's gonna be a
software.
big. It's gonna be a yeah.
Yeah,
They're gonna
I
go
smell
after it.
I smell civil suits. You know, this might.
Yeah,
this-
hope we're gonna see this. This justice system of our country is being tested to its limits.
It really
and
is.
it just can't keep up with the problems. The pipeline of problems going into our justice system is causing it to crash.
Yes.
Trump is not only
Mm-hmm.
going to get away with everything, he's going to be the 47th president of the United States.
God. Yeah.
Unless Biden gets creative
Mm-hmm.
with something like RealPage ripping people off for rent and then instituting some sort of national law or whatever that gets my rent down.
We'll see. Yeah. No, I mean,
If he-
not to mention.
I don't know. I don't know how to make that happen mechanically.
Right. Of course. I mean, this is still like fresh news.
But at least talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it should definitely be much bigger news. Like, this is definitely going to be something like Clip, obviously. Like, but like, this would need to be brought up by Democrats. Like,
Instead, we're talking about Hunter Biden's laptop when we should be talking about RealPage
Yeah.
and this absolute rip-off scheme, man.
Yeah.
It pisses me off because I rent.
Yeah.
And I know it's being used in this area.
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. Like, and like we talk about the justice system and this being just like a new, fresh case, or like multiple cases, all interlinked and intertwined and whatnot. It's still probably going to be like a multi-year long effort, like these cases with Trump have been so far. So, we'll see. I choose to be optimistic about it, but like, of course, I'm not going to save my breath. But I mean, I could be surprised. Like, this administration has been really good in terms of the labor relations. I think they've actually been pretty decent when it comes to consumer finance protection as well. So, I mean, the only way that this would be, pursued to the extent that, like, it, at least where it should be pursued, is if, I guess, Biden gets another term and like nobody drops the ball on this, or no one is urged or bribed to drop it. No changes of leadership of these agencies that are overseeing these cases or potential cases. No shakeups in these institutions, and if there aren't, then hopefully all this like maintains the same course.
Well, don't get your hopes up, man. I think it's best to be a pessimist.
Yeah.
That's one of the themes on our show.
Like I said, I'm
if you're
not
into
holding my breath.
uplifting content, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
So I actually just got a viewer. Make yourself known, please. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you're on StatPat's feed, please make your way over to mine and give me a sub because I could use it.
Yeah. I've had like 3 concurrent viewers, like pretty steadily, which I appreciate. Hello, hi. Make sure you guys subscribe and comment and make yourselves known and whatnot.
So I'm optimistic about June 27th being a momentous day for this election calendar.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to steal some thunder from... Oh, nice. It's Thunderbird.
Oh,
He's
hell
back,
yeah.
baby.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah. Most
Hello,
regular
Thunderbird.
guy.
Thanks for joining in,
We
buddy.
love you, buddy. So, yeah, I actually think this June 27th debate might be a really good thing for Biden if he nails it. I was watching him walk at the D-Day celebration, and, man, he was doing the robot walk. He did not look great.
Real stiff.
He did not look great. Pretty stiff.
Yeah.
And he just... It's just age, man. The guy's 80.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm definitely like above anything. I'm looking forward to covering it live, like on the show.
Yeah.
Like, it's a 3 Thursdays from now, and I'm looking forward to it, like, big time.
So what else you want to talk about?
Nothing else really comes to mind.
All right.
Celtics won.
Celtics.
Celtics.
With a soft C.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Let me see what else. For the days, I'm looking at X right now. Yeah, just the FBI raid on Real Page. Hopefully, it results. I mean, the attitude from
that's on trending.
The attitude from effective politicians should be that every problem is an opportunity. Okay, because you can only get so much done, not only in your time in office, but in this life.
Yeah.
Nobody gets everything they want. You know that saying? Well, it's a good one. Because it can put yourself in perspective as a politician and make you understand that your value might not be to get a specific piece of legislation passed in your career, but you can advance ideas. Like, so whoever does take over the progressive left is going to be standing on the shoulders of Bernie Sanders, even though Bernie's gone, corporate, as they say.
Yeah.
But they're going to be standing on those shoulders. And that's why I think everybody's going to want it to be someone different, and everyone's going to have a different idea of who that person should be. And that's why the progressive left will always really struggle until some freak show comes along that everybody loves.
Yeah.
And starts leading with campaign finance.
Yeah, we really do need, like, a fucking freak show for the left.
Freak show.
Like,
Freak show.
Unapologetic.
We've talked about Jasmine Crockett before, Thunderbird. She's great, but she's got some weird crypto money that we're a little nervous about. And she's still young. She's not seasoned. Also, for what it's worth, according to history, governors usually make better presidents. And I think it's because they don't come into the White House with all these favors that they have to do from their time in Congress, already poisoned by the Washington disease of lobbying.
Yeah, they're a lot more established to begin with. They already have, like, jurisdiction over, they have experience actually governing people and being, like,
making executive decisions. Not everybody's executive material.
Yes, right.
That's the big tough question and everybody feels it, but nobody wants to say it. Like, I'm not going to get into names. I think everybody's got potential right now, but there are certain people the left is promoting that, for example, someone said recently, oh, they're afraid of Pramila Jayapal. And I was like, no, they're not.
No. No.
I think I might have said that in a previous episode, but there's a lot of, I think, leadership on the progressive left that is caught up in some names that they're trying to make work, and it's just not happening.
Yeah.
And you got to actually look to, I think labor is the most natural place to find someone for the progressive left to lead us, because, and I'm not alone, that's not an original idea. Plenty of people are saying that. But if I were to articulate why, it would be because they understand the mechanics of the relationship between the government and the private sector, specifically the government and the worker. They have that fundamental knowledge and understanding, not just because they read about it, but because they worked in it.
Yeah.
And so if we get someone out of labor, the problem is people out of labor aren't necessarily cut out for politics. Sure. They just want to stand up for the worker, build their pension, and have their privacy.
Yeah,
you know?
not. I mean, because there are a lot of aspects that go into a presidency that goes beyond, worker labor relations and things of that nature. Like it definitely takes a whole lot more than that. So like I agree. Even though we have floated around names like Sean Fain, like
right,
who, like would be
it was great.
Excellent.
Be great.
Yeah.
More like him. We need 5 more of those.
Yeah. Not to mention someone who's also more like savvy when like what we were just talking about, who can do like executive action and is would be good at it. Someone like with the experience of a governor and the gusto of a labor leader, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Credibility of a labor leader.
Yeah, of course.
Credibility of a labor leader. The progressive left has an image problem with being soft.
Yeah. Yeah.
The progressive left is the woke left, and the woke left is perceived to be soft. And that's what people are saying, where I'm anti-woke. Oh, I'm anti-woke. I'm anti-woke. Well, you're anti-woke just means that you're not soft. I'm tough. You know?
Right, yeah.
I'm tough.
So tough,
I'm not woke.
Like, you'll take every opportunity to whine and bitch and moan and complain about woke this and woke that, or
it's also narcissism. Like, people are upset that it's not about them anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, where's Straight Pride Month?
Yeah, well, that bullshit. I mean, people are just upset that it's not about them anymore, and it's like, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, who cares?
If you want it to be about you, go do something special. There's plenty of opportunity in today's world. You and I would never have been able to do this, even 10 years ago.
Right.
Or if we had to, there would have been so many technical requirements that I probably would have given up by now.
Right, yeah, no kidding.
So, I mean, there's all sorts of opportunities out there. The problem is there are too many damn people.
Yeah.
And people don't have the educations that they should by now. Like we talked about with the Progressive American, educational institutions should be citizen factories, not job factories.
Yes.
Worker factories, I guess you should say.
Yeah, totally agree.
But yeah, he was a good guest. We'll have him back soon, and I'm working on some more guests. But for now, thinking more about what I want to do with these 2 viewers. Please let yourself. I know I got Thunderbird, so whoever else is in here, let yourself be known. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you don't mind, if anybody wants us to talk about anything, just go ahead and say something in the comments.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, what's Monday? Monday's the 10th. Is there anything like? There's like nothing new on the Trump front until the 11th, is there? Or like nothing else coming up in terms of his other cases until then?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Oh, I'm down to Thunderbird. Thunderbird's my only guy left.
Yeah,
guy left.
I got one.
All right, let's quit while we're ahead. An hour's
For
fine.
Sure. Oh yeah.
But all right. Parting thoughts and words.
not.
Just say no. Just
No.
say no.
No, like nothing comes to mind. Like basically everything I wanted to say, like get off my chest, was spoken in this episode for sure.
All right, I'm going to mix it up. Instead of always ending with "You don't get change in America by asking nicely," this time I'm going to do a Dieter decree number 5. Defeating your enemy demands that you know your enemy.
Absolutely.
Oh, baby. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for more scripted stuff coming out. That's the one thing you and I got to talk about offline, but we will after the end of the stream. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. See you Monday night around 7:30 Pacific.
Sounds good. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good night.
And we are out.